Welcome back to Movies TV Man. You of course can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man, and welcome to Sunday's edition of the DCEU Daily. So Ava DuVernay and her cancelled New Gods film has popped its ugly head again. Yes, that's how I'm framing it. We spoke about this during the time so many times, and it turns out I was right about the entire situation. But should we check out and see what she's saying? New Gods director, well, she didn't direct it, so how can she be New Gods director? Ava DuVernay indicates her DC movie was scrapped because of the Snyder Cut, revealing it was cancelled based on some things that were going on with another film in that world. So let's see what's going on here. Let's click onto this article. Internet's playing up a bit, but we're here. Yes, here we go. DC's New Gods movie was cancelled because of Snyder Cut, says director by Brendan. That's Brendan Kim of Screen Rant. Ava DuVernay strongly implies that Warner Brothers cancelled her film New Gods due to narrative conflicts with Zack Snyder's Justice League. Of course, this isn't really the truth. I've explained this situation to you lot so many times. We'll go through it after this article. Writer and director Ava DuVernay strongly implies that Warner Brothers cancelled her DCEU film New Gods due to narrative conflicts with Zack Snyder's Justice League. The film was first announced by the studio in 2018, would have followed the titular characters of the same name, who first made their debut in the pages of DC Comics in 1971. Coincidentally, the New Gods shares the same creator, comic book industry legend Jack Kirby, as Marvel's Eternals. Yeah. It looks like everyone wants to ruin poor Jack's visions and creative kind of characters and universes, right? Actually, that's not fair. I like the Eternals. I think Chloe Zhao did a really good job. But I'm just saying it's interesting, isn't it? Although the New Gods and the Eternals exist in separate continuities owned by two rival companies, the book shared many thematic and aesthetic similarities, such as the titular characters of both franchises, comprising an immortal race of godlike beings. Unfortunately, or I'll say fortunately, Warner Brothers announced earlier this year that DuVernay's New Gods would not be moving forward at the studio. It never was. While no explicit reasons were given at the time, some speculated that the narrative overlap between New Gods and Zack Snyder's Justice League may have played a role in the former's abrupt cancellation. Isn't something supposed to be green-lit before it can be cancelled? Before DuVernay and Tom King could finish penning the script, and by the way, Tom King wasn't tapped to help her with this script until she got into trouble with it. We'll talk about it in a minute. Could finish penning the script. Snyder had already incorporated many key aspects of New Gods lore into his new cut of Justice League, including the mother boxes, the anti-life equation, and arguably the most famous New God, Darkseid. DuVernay may have subtly confirmed this theory in a recent interview with Radio Andy Show via Sirius XM. She says Warner Brothers axed New Gods based on some things that were going on with another film in that world at the time of writing. Zack Snyder's Justice League is the only film in the DCEU to have touched on New Gods lore. New Gods lore to any substantial extent. As such, it's highly likely that another film she references is Snyder's. Check out the clip below. Well, I really don't want to see this woman talk because I don't like this woman. I don't like her political opinions. I think the only reason she's in the industry is via DNA. She's climbed up the ladder very quickly in the entertainment industry, and it's all about DNA. And this is the worst type of inclusion and representation because it blocks talented people from coming in. People of colour, Asian people, women, the transgender community, because this lady may be a woman of colour, but she's a woman of colour with the Hollywood DNA, and that's the only reason she's got up the ladder so quickly. Also, I'll give you another hot take. This is a writer-director of mediocre ability. Just go and see her films. And now she's doing Naomi on the CW, How the Mighty Have Fallen, and I'm sure she's not very happy. But be warned, she could be directing Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams' Superman movie. So be afraid, be very afraid, because this is a lady with very, very hateful views on the world. Despite New Gods' cancellation, Warner Brothers made it clear that the project would remain in Duvernay and King's hands if it were to move forward in the future. I don't believe them. It seems that the studio is currently focused on fleshing out their most iconic heroes first, as evidenced by the upcoming slate of projects centered on Batman, The Flash and Aquaman, before expanding into their more esoteric cosmic lore. Ideally, the duo would return if the studio chooses to pursue New Gods in the future. There's no way. And to stop, because all these people in the industry know shit about these studios, like Zack did. Zack exposed them, right? Out of revenge. Can't blame him. To keep her quiet, they gave her Naomi, right? A character of colour, a female character of colour, who's in DC lore, a very new. She's only been around for a little while in DC Comics. So Ava DuVernay can spread her political message over on the CW. The CW's the perfect place because they do that a lot, right? However, the studio may have dodged a bullet by scrapping New Gods. The review embargo for Marvel Studios' upcoming film Eternals recently lifted, resulting in what may become the MCU's first rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Given the similar subject matter between the two franchises, it's possible that Jack Kirby's mythic sci-fi epics may just be too difficult to adapt for film. Bullshit! Bullshit! Warner Brothers has also shown no interest in continuing Zack Snyder's vision for the DC Universe. Nothing to do with Jack Kirby's work, by the way. So it makes sense that the Snyder Cut would have been a key reason behind New Gods getting cancelled. It's not true. In any case, considering the work that DuVernay and King have already invested into the project, hopefully the movie will one day come to fruition. No, not by her. Tom King can do it on his own if he wants, not Ava DuVernay. Now, I know this is the DCEU Daily, and I've been talking about New Gods on this channel and on this show quite a lot, but I want to be clear here. The Eternals is no way a rotten rating movie. It's a vast, beautifully shot movie. It's as beautifully and vastly shot as Denis Villeneuve's Dune movie. I'm not saying it's as good as that movie, it's vast. I mean, spoilers ahead, they do flashbacks years and years prior to the modern day MCU. It's a very vast and ambitious movie. And for the life of me, I don't know why critics haven't liked it. Now, there's been other places and other sites that it's been voted down because people, you know, are transphobic and homophobic. That's a different talking point. And there's been other crazy people from the extreme left saying it's only white male critics who don't like this film. Of course, this is not true. This is the same extreme left that told you not to go and see the Joker movie because straight white males were going to shoot the movie theatres up. Nothing happened. Of course, they didn't want you to see that movie because it was about a white straight male suffering with mental health problems. Because apparently, white straight males can't have mental illness and can't break down and have nervous breakdowns. They don't go through anything. This is what these nut jobs are all about. Eternals is a very good film, by the way. It's not the best film ever or anything, but it doesn't deserve to be rotten. I'll give you another hot take before we get back to Ava. That Chloe Zhao's Eternals is a much better film than Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. It's a much better film than Black Widow. They made a lot of money and they have a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. But why? I'll tell you the real reason they don't like Eternals. It's the same reason they don't like Zack Snyder's DC work. Apart from Justice League, which they're calling it better than the crazy Justice League movie, which is a pile of shit. That's not a compliment, is it? BVS was hated. It's still got a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes. But why? Because it's different. It's vast and it's compelling and it doesn't have many, if any, gags. Now, this film has gags, but it's vast and it's different. And when someone does something different in the entertainment industry in the 21st century, it's voted down. It's simply not fair. And that's my opinion on the Eternals. Of course, it gives me great satisfaction to see a Marvel movie doing badly, because I'm a DCEU stan, I admit it. But I do feel bad for Chloe and the cast, because they don't deserve it. It is actually one of the better MCU movies, because it is vast, unique, different, and kind of compelling as well. So it's a shame. Now let's go back to Ava. So they've stuck a microphone in her face and they say, Ava, why was your New Gods film cancelled? Which it wasn't, because it was never greenlit. It's because there was another film, so I couldn't make mine. Not that you wrote multiple treatments of a script, multiple scripts for New Gods, and Warner Brothers rejected each and every one of them. And in the end, you brought in a comic book legend, aka Tom King, to help you, and even he couldn't help you through it, because we know, Ava, what your agenda was with this movie. We know the kind of people and what cultural backgrounds you were going to cast. We know the aggressive alt-left commentary you were going to make in this film. And that's why they didn't want your movie, because they knew what you were doing. It was in your script. So she kept on writing one script, it was rejected, another one, and another one, another one. Ava DuVernay's New Gods was never a thing. It was never greenlit, ever. She was pitching a movie and it was rejected every time. And now she's over at the CW. As I say, how the mighty have fallen. I respect good directors, creatives, with a pure heart, who want to take you away from your reality. This is not what this person wants to do. So I have got no love for Ava DuVernay. I think she's a fraud. I think she's gone up the ladder via Hollywood DNA and not through genuine want of talent, having talent, and actually wanting to represent and include someone, because there are so many talented creatives of colour out there, and transgender people, you know, and women. There are so many talented people out there. Because they don't have the Hollywood DNA, they don't progress, they don't go up the ladder. But this person has the Hollywood DNA, and I'm framing it like this because there's no other way I can get away with saying this. And this is why she's gone so high up the ladder. She's done bad films. She's done political films on Netflix that are directed okay and are interesting films, right? I agree. But she was going to destroy. New Gods is a film that should be written and directed by someone like Terrio and directed by Snyder. They would have given you a vast universe. So I don't think this woman ever gets to touch this IP again, and nor should she. New Gods should be the most compelling series of movies or an HBO Max TV show, never in the hands of this person. And that's my final say on this subject. Do you know yesterday how we were discussing how DC and WB detest and hate the OG original Superman? Here's more evidence of it in this Screen Rant article. This is by Dylan Moore of Screen Rant. Superman versus his son. Who'd win if they battled in their prime? This is really funny actually, because there would be no reason for these two to fight unless one of them was on Red K, or they were both on Red K, or they were both kind of manipulated by Darkseid's anti-life equation. So I don't even know why we're having this conversation. Well, I do actually know. I know because they hate the OG Superman. Because he's a straight, white, male version of Superman. Let's be honest. I'm not going to pretend anymore. Although Superman's son is somewhat of a newcomer to the DC multiverse, he's growing powerful. With that said, which Ken would win in a fight? The son of Kal-El, John Kent, has taken up his father's mantle of Superman. After only 6 years of existence, even Batman states that John's powers may be higher than his father's. Of course, we all know why. And Supergirl combined in Action Comics 1030, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Daniel Sampere, and Jordi Belair, even though Superman would never willingly fight his son. You think? And vice versa, what would the results be of a battle between the Kents at their highest power? As previously stated, the teenage John Kent has come a long way since Lois Lane gave birth to him in Dan Jurgens' Convergence Superman 2. Not only is he powerful like his father, but John also has the will to do good. You see, they're going to go with the human element and the half-human thing, right? Having will isn't enough. If you've got the power of the fucking God, right? If Darkseid knocks on my door, I've got no powers. My human will is fucking irrelevant. The geezer's going to fry me, right? Like both of his parents, John is also a developing teenager learning to face contemporary challenges as a superhero. A new representative of the LGBTQ community. At this peak, John's strength is unfathomable. What? Because he's dating another lad, right? And I don't know how his partner in the story identifies that, so I'm apologising. I'm not trying to, be offensive there. But that doesn't make him more powerful than Superman just because he's dating someone of the same gender, if that other person is of the same gender. Again, I don't know. At his peak, John's strength is unfathomable, which causes him to perform super flares against his will. John also has all the weaknesses of his father, which include kryptonite, red solar radiation, magic-sensitive hearing, and several others, even if he hasn't yet learned to control his energy. In his raw strength, enough to face Superman at his peak. Clark Kent is a man of many names, such as the last son of Krypton, Man of Steel, and champion of the oppressed. Superman isn't only the first superhero, he's also one of the most powerful characters of all time. Several anime fans have even matched him against their most exaggeratedly powerful characters like Naruto and Goku. While Superman has several weaknesses, he still has the willpower to defeat potent magicians like Black Adam. He also has equipment that John doesn't have, such as a lead-lined suit that protects him from kryptonite. And this isn't even Clark at his most resourceful. The Man of Steel reaches his peak in Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All-Star Superman. Even while fueled with overbearing solar radiation, Clark remains under complete control when he eventually flies into the sun. In a fight, even though John allegedly has more power than his father, and can someone explain to me how John Kent's got more power when he's half fucking human? It doesn't, we're just going to say he's more powerful, right? So that makes it so. The odds don't look good for the younger Superman. John is still learning what he's capable of. Meanwhile, in All-Star Superman, Clark lifts 200 quintillion tons with one arm and states he can still carry more. Furthermore, when Lois Lane shoots Clark with a kryptonite gun in, he says that it tickles. John has never reached this amount of invulnerability before. He simply doesn't have the equipment or the experience to match up against his father at his peak, no matter what Batman says. The fact of the matter is that John Kent hasn't technically reached his peak yet. If he and his father were to face each other at the strongest they've both been thus far, there's absolutely no chance of John winning. John does have a vast amount of power, but he can't control his energy the same way as Kal-El. Perhaps a future story will allow John to surpass his father's control. However, the original Superman still stands as one of the strongest characters in fiction, the Justice League's true leader, and has over 80 years of history. It's not about history. It's about physics, isn't it? It's about DNA. Superman is a proper Kryptonian. He's not half human. John is half human. Now I don't know the character inside and out. I don't read him, and I'm not going to read him. But it's obvious. If you're the OG Superman and you come from Krypton and you're not half human, you're going to beat someone who's half human. Now, the comic industry want to tell you, DC Comics want to tell you, well, his human will makes him more powerful than Superman. Wait, what? What? How? I don't understand. How is that a thing? Human will trumps a full Kryptonian? No! You're just saying things. And just because he may be part of the LGBTQ community doesn't make him more powerful. That's not how life works. And him being half human and having human will doesn't change that. And if you want to talk about human will, nobody has more human will than the OG Superman. Not because he's half human, but because he was brought up by the Kents. Because he's been influenced by Lana and Lois and Pete Ross and people like that. He grew up with all these wonderful people who taught him a better way. Without those people, He would be a furious, angry god. And when he's been on Red K, they've taken him down. When he's been manipulated by the anti-life equation, they're the people's influence that's made him win over the darkness that's been inside him in the past. So the OG Superman actually has more human will, because it's not just about DNA. And ultimately, Superman is a full Kryptonian who could kill his son. I don't know why we're talking about this, but I do. They're trying to pit fans against the OG Superman. But let me tell you this. John Kent will never, ever be as iconic or as loved as the OG Superman. Because the OG Superman doesn't have a sense of entitlement. But you see, people reading comics today, and they're not the same people who used to read comics, are very, very political people. So hey, you know, John Kent's part of the LGBTQ community, but, you know, the OG Superman's a straight white male, which must make him bad. Wrong, wrong, wrong again, Zod. And this is the problem in the era that we're living in. People talk out of their backsides. I don't want to see these characters fight. Why would I? Why would anyone, apart from the nut jobs that are the extreme left? But ultimately, OG Superman would be John Kent, and that's a fact. The Joker movie is one of the few moments in 21st century movie making, or in the recent past 5 or 10 years, where a film's been made and it's captured the public's imagination. Though the Joker is all over TikTok, and I'm talking about Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, not other Jokers. He's there more than any other version of the Joker. Take a think about that for a minute. You know, young people, you know, put him as their profile picture. And that tells you a lot. And this is the difference between a good, quality, creative, like Todd Phillips writing and directing a film, or Matt Reeves writing or directing a film, or people with political kind of agendas and propaganda. That's the difference. This is the difference. The Joker movie is a classic movie because it's made because it wants to tell a story. And it's interesting because it has got social commentary in the film, but it's the type of social commentary you very, very rarely see in modern day entertainment. This is about a man who is mentally ill, that loses the rights to his medication, that has to bring up his mother, you know, and that's the thing. And that's the amazing thing about the film. It's bringing in a really popular fantasy character, but it's giving that character real life social issues and social commentary. And it's the kind of social commentary you can actually bring into a comic book live action adaptation, and it works. We see it's made in a very old fashioned way. This film's a bit of a falling down movie. Now, there's a lot of modern people from the extreme left that believe that falling down is about white male privilege. Now, I don't care. I don't know, and I don't care what the man who made the movie was trying to say. To me, it's not about white male privilege. It's falling down is about an ordinary working class man, a decent person who gets broken down by the realities of life and society. And this is what happens to Arthur Fleck in the Joker movie. This is really a genuinely good young man with dreams and aspirations like you and me. And what happens to him through his mental illness and the pressure of looking after his very ill mother, he gets broken down slowly but surely. And it's not just what life does to him. You know, he's affected by bullying. The bullying of Robert De Niro's character, the guys on the streets who kick the living crap out of him. You know, the government bullying him by taking his psych meds away from him. This is a very real issue in real life. You know, when mentally ill people, not just men, anyone. This is not just about men. This is about the human condition, this film. And that's why it's stuck in the zeitgeist, right? And this was done, what, 2 years ago? It's not a very old film. But these days, for a film still to be discussed so wholeheartedly means It's a classic, and it is a classic inspired by Hollywood classics from the 70s, films like Taxi Driver and Mean Streets. But he's not copying those films. It's an inspiration. You know, George Lucas's Star Wars was inspired by King Arthur and other things. It doesn't mean he's copying them. He's taking inspiration. People accused Todd Phillips of having no originality. That film is full of originality. You see, there's lots of social commentary you can make. You can keep on making social commentary about identity politics, but let me tell you something. Despite what Hollywood tell you and tell us, people really don't identify with identity politics. It isn't something that most normal, decent people wake up thinking about. They think about how am I going to feed my children? How am I going to afford to buy them the birthday present or the Christmas present? I'm earning this much this month. Can I afford my bills? This is what people are thinking. And also, mental illness is something that can be brought on through the stresses of life. And this is what the Joker movie does. This is not about a man being a man. What happens to Arthur Fleck could happen to anyone in the world. That's why this is such a good film, and this is why people kind of respond to it. And you know, you could see the extreme left getting very angry about this movie because they claimed it was just making excuses for white straight males. That's not the point. This film could be about anyone. You could literally do a Harley Quinn movie like this, telling you the same social commentary. Harley Quinn is first a criminal psychologist at Arkham Asylum. You could have done an amazing similar movie like this. You still could, not copying the Joker movie, but taking kind of unique kind of situations from that movie. So you could do it with Harley Quinn. But the way I'm not that impressed with what they've done with Harley Quinn in live action. There's not very interesting commentary. They've tried to make her a feminist, man-hating character now. That's where that's the kind of thing they're doing now. And you know, that's the problem with it. People don't identify with identity politics, not normal everyday people. We know the kind of people who want to constantly bore on about identity politics. But something like the Joker movie that takes this character that's got good intentions, because we're all born, I hope, with good intentions, unless we're born mentally ill from the very beginning, and that's another issue. But blaming certain sections of society, I mean, it happened when I was a kid. People would blame, people from poor cultures, poor neighborhoods and things like that for crime. And of course, a rich kid can go and kill someone as easily as anybody else. So these stereotypes have changed now. Now the stereotypes are that white straight males are the problem, and without us the world would be a better place. That's the craziness. When you target and stereotype certain parts of the human race, what you do, and when you bring this into the entertainment industry especially, it becomes very problematic. And that's what I like about Joker. It's not kind of picking on a certain person. It's saying this man is mentally ill. He lives in a very down on its dumps neighborhood, a poverty-stricken neighborhood. He's got mental health issues. He's looking after his mother. And that's what the problem is with this character. And in the end, he gets broken. And when you watch the movie, it's understandable. You don't make excuses for him and say, there. But you understand why he's become. And society must take at least a 25% portion of the blame that what happens to people like Arthur Fleck. There's big commentary. There's also the situation of social media and the internet. There's commentary about this. It's what Arthur says when he's being interviewed by Robert De Niro's character before he blows his brains out. He says, why does everyone have to be so mean all the time? And that's the point. Why do we have to be so mean all the time? Because we're angry. We're frustrated about our lot in life and we take it out on each other. That's why. And it's always been the case, but social media, amplifies this because we have a megaphone now and where we can go and, let these frustrations out. It's not a good thing, but human beings have always been the same and it will never change. But the Joker movie is not a toxic movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful interpretation of one of the most iconic DC characters of all time. And it has great social commentary. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. I'll be back tomorrow. Please like, share, comment. Please subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until then, goodbye.